Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So, if you're watching this live, well, whether you're watching it live or not, it is Sunday today, all day. I hope you're all having a good weekend, enjoying your weekend. Oh, what are you making that noise for? Anyway, hope you're all having a good weekend. Can't say I'm having a good weekend. As you know, my car's not working. But anyway, so so I couldn't sort of go anywhere today. So I have been cleaning. I can't say I've been enjoying that either. But anyway, it's done. Always feels better. The thing about cleaning is you never feel like doing it, but it always feels better when it's done, doesn't it? But it never ends, does it? It never ever ends. Once you've cleaned one thing, especially when you've got 3 dogs and a number 1 son living at home. Cleaning never ends, never ends. That's why I'm on the avatar, because I just haven't had time to sort of get dressed up. But I was going to, do my hair, put my makeup on. And I thought, oh my God, that'll take me so long. Anyway, so what we're here to talk about today, we're here to talk about this thing that just will not go away. And I'm really starting to think this definitely isn't going away. This man who he doesn't sweat. Remember, he didn't sweat at the time. He must have just sprayed himself there with something, because he didn't sweat. And that's why there's no way that Virginia Guiffre was telling the truth, because Andrew, he doesn't sweat. So when she said that he was really sweaty after they went to the nightclub and then he had sex with her, can't possibly have been him, or I don't know. I don't know what this photo is. Maybe someone's photoshopped it, hey? Anyway, this is the man who says he doesn't sweat. And of course, I bet he's sweating right now at this moment. God knows what's happening. Can you imagine what their conversation is sort of around the breakfast table in the Randy Andy household? Goodness knows what they're talking about. But anyway, but the thing is, I think this is going to bring out so much the more I think about it. Now, we've got to remember, he's not the first PDF in the royal family. We've got Lord Mountbatten. This is actually Andrew that is with there when he was little boy. Lord Mountbatten, he had a penchant for little boys, didn't he? When he was actually finally blown up by the IRA, he had little boys with him on that boat. There's no smoke without fire. When there's rumours about a member of the royal family liking young boys, there's probably truth in it, because otherwise why, you don't get that rumour about William or Harry or about Charles even, about liking young boys or whatever. So, there's definitely these sort of rumours come out for a reason. Of course, Lord Mountbatten, that was at a time when we didn't have social media, so he didn't get caught out really. And there they are, the 2 brothers, Charlie Boy and Andrew, in happier times. Now, we mustn't forget about Charles' penchant for young girls. When he married Diana, she was just little more than a girl, really, when he married Princess Diana. Also, he's got a few sort of unfortunate friends. I mean, God, this is just one of thousands of photos of him with Jimmy Savile, who is, of course, probably one of the most famous PDFs in Britain anyway, very oh, and Charles and Jimmy, they got on like a house on fire, didn't they? I mean, the thing is, I'm not saying that Charlie Boy is a PDF, but he doesn't really mind hanging around with them, I don't think. He's not got a. At the end of the day, Charlie Boy and Shamila, as much as she might pretend that she cares about women, she doesn't care about women. She didn't care about Diana. They treated Diana terribly. And I think Shamila is definitely behind a lot of the hate that goes around for Meghan. But anyway, and of course, all these calls for the Sussexes to be stripped of their titles, but they're not actually PDFs, I mean, the thing, it just amazes me. The thing about Andrew, it's because what he's done is against the law. What he's done is against the law. You wouldn't want him around your teenage girls, would you? Now, Harry and Meghan, whether you like them, you might think they're insufferable, but they haven't done that. So it's a completely different thing. You can't compare this at all, I don't think. Just because Harry and Meghan have gone off to do their own thing, and yeah, maybe you can't stand Harry, maybe you can't stand Meghan, but they haven't done what this man has reputedly done. But he doesn't sweat. No, never sweat. There's a problem with that. Remember, he told Emily Maitlis, there's a big problem with this thing that Virginia has said because I don't sweat. Anyway, so the main thing we're really going to be talking about in this video is Virginia. Not only that, it's the legacy that she's left. And the more you look into it, the more you think, what else is going to come out here? There's only 1% of the details that are in the Epstein files, apparently, that have come out. So what is it? What is all the fuss about? What is in there that everybody's so scared of? And another thing that we know for certain is he was a horrible person. I mean, Jeffrey Epstein was an absolutely horrible person. And all these people that were his mate, and he probably did blackmail a lot of them, I think. That's the sort of person he was. That would be what's behind this photo. God, Andrew must kick himself, mustn't he, about this photo? This is what has hung Andrew, if you like, and this will haunt him forever. He will never escape from this photo. And I bet there was a little bit of a quiet celebration when Virginia took her own life, sadly. He probably thought, and now it seems to have made it worse. Virginia seems to me, she is almost haunting Andrew from beyond the grave. And not only Andrew, but when her book comes out this week, we'll find out a lot more. Now, I think people are saying there's nothing new in her book, nothing that we didn't know before. Well, maybe. But why is everyone so shit scared of it then? This seems to have created this massive panic. And the royal family are backpedaling so quickly, aren't they? They're trying so... it's been 5 years since Andrew did that car crash interview with Emily Maitlis. Why has it taken 5 years to tell him he can't use his title? So don't forget as well, he hasn't been stripped of his titles. Every time I see that in the news or what, it's rubbish. He's still got his titles. He just can't use them. He's not been stripped of any title. He's still living in a 32-room mansion on Windsor Estate. I don't think that's going to change. And they said he's got a cast iron tenancy there. Well, who's paying his rent there? So apparently that, it belongs to the Crown Estates. It's a massive sort of property at Windsor. Belongs to the Crown. Yeah, whatever. But then, are they not? Is he not paying any rent then? And if he is paying rent, who's paying his, I mean, where does Andrew get his money from, really? I mean, must be from his titles, surely. I expect the Queen left him money. I don't know. Don't know. Everyone's sort of always worrying about if someone claiming benefits, does an odd job here and there and earns an extra 50 quid here and there. And I think people need to look up and see what these sort of people are, screwing the British taxpayer out of. There's no way that Andrew's ever going to have to go and make his own way in the world, is he? He's not going to go and live in a council flat somewhere. He might end up having to move out of there because it's a 32-room mansion and it's just him, his wife, or his ex-wife, Sarah. And I think the two girls still live there, do they? I don't know, but that's it. So what does he need a 32-room mansion for? Why do the royal family need about 2 million homes that are all massive, all over the world, all over the UK? All the homes that they've got. And they tell you to live a simple life. Anyway, I do think that this is exposing another good thing that Virginia has done, and I'm just sorry for her that she's not here to see it, though I'm sure she is watching. She has shown up the sort of the whole hypocrisy and ridiculousness, really, of the royals and everything. And pompous Andrew, he's just one of them. He's just one of them. He may be the one that's, I think he's almost the scapegoat, isn't he? It's like, to me, it's like the royal family. Now it's like, pile it all on Andrew and get all the spotlight on him, and then people won't look at us. But anyway, that's what we're going to talk about. And we're going to look at, what are the Epstein files? Why are they buzzing on? This has gone on and on and on. I haven't really talked about it much because you just think, oh God, surely it'll get resolved sooner or later. Just release the bloody files and then it'll all be over with. But it's not, is it? It's limping on. It's not showing, and it's causing all this conspiracy. We don't know if Epstein did he take his own life? Was he murdered? And we've got Ghislaine just recently. She's been put in a sort of a different prison, hasn't she? So she's done an interview, done interviews with the DOJ and that, and maybe we'll look at those one day. There's so much to it, and she's another one. Totally privileged life she's had. She's not, I wouldn't, she's had quite a sad life, I think, because her own dad, was a piece of shit, wasn't he? Robert Maxwell, the newspaper tycoon, and he died in mysterious circumstances. So she's had she was born into it. Ghislaine, she didn't have a choice, I suppose, in who her father was. But of course, she's revelled in it. And I know in her recent interviews, she's like saying, oh, well, it was a different time then, it was a different time. And it was a different time. But she's saying now she knows that things that he was doing were wrong. But she just turned a blind eye, didn't she? Because of the money. It's all about money, isn't it? Basically, what it all comes down to is Epstein had the money, but where did he get his money from? That's another mystery, isn't it? How did he end up being so rich? It's not really clear, is it, where he made his money from? So there's so many rabbit holes from this whole case, aren't there? That's why people are fascinated with it. Anyway, but before I get into it proper, I'm going to look at some of the things, some of the excerpts from the book that have been released. The other thing, I do think it's sort of create this very strange, because, even newspapers like the Daily Mail and the Sun, etc., who normally are all for the royal family, aren't they? You know, they're really down on Andrew. It's like everyone's crashing in on Andrew. I think they're hoping that crashing down on Andrew and using him as a scapegoat will mean that the other people don't talk about the others. But I think it's too late for that. That's the other thing that I've realised. People are waking up to what the royal family are like. And of course, that happened when the Queen died. Once the Queen died, it all went to shit, didn't it? Britain just in general went to shit, didn't it? You know, it's like nobody... Well, certainly not Charlie Boy. He's not worth, you know, he can't fill her boots. He can't fill the Queen's shoes. She had a way, even though she wasn't a very nice person because, you know, she paid off Virginia Guiffre. She didn't care about the girls that were trafficked either, did she? But she had this ability, I don't know, to, you know, people respected her, I think. But that's gone now. So I don't think Charles has got the same respect. I think people think he's weak. They don't like Shamilla. Most people don't like Shamilla, and then her sneaking in this title as the Queen. She was never supposed to be the Queen. She was supposed to be the Queen Consort. Now let's not forget that even Prince Philip, he wasn't the king. He was Prince Consort, wasn't he? He was never the king, known as the king. Why is she known as the Queen? I would never call her the Queen. She is not the Queen. In fact, still sometimes when I see on the news and they say, oh, the Queen's doing this, and I think, oh, what? The Queen? You know, you never think of her as the Queen, or I can't. She is not my Queen. Never will be. Can't bear her. And she's not a nice person. In any way. She's not even a person you can respect. I mean, you know, don't have to be a nice person, I suppose. It's difficult when you're in the royal family, really, because, you know, it's difficult. I mean, I don't think I like to be in the royal family because, you know, all the scrutiny that you get and everything, it's not nice. But that's the price you pay for the privileged life that you lead, and you should appreciate that. So anyone who's ever been a popular member of the royal family, really, they're the ones that we think, or at least they appreciate the fact that they are privileged. You know, they don't take it for granted that it's their, you know, this sense of entitlement like this one. Anyway, and you know, and Charles talks a good talk, doesn't he? You listen to him talking, and he always makes out blah de blah de blah de blah de environment this and blah de blah de I'm a really good chap, but actually he's not, because you can tell a man by the company he keeps, and this is the company that he used to keep. I mean, really, if you went back in time and looked, you know, he's not a good person. He's never been a good person, and now he's just shows up even more. But anyway, first of all, I'd just like to say thank you to everybody. I'm going to put Virginia's picture up. Thank you to everyone for watching, for liking, for subscribing, for being members, for buying Ko-fis, sending super stickers, any positive way you've helped the channel. Thank you so much. I appreciate every single one of you. And thank you. And I am blowing a kiss, but you can't see it because I'm on the avatar. And hi, lovely lurkers. Hi, replay crew. I just have to blow kisses like that. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. They're the free ways that you can help my channel. Not the 3 ways, the free ways. Okay, so now I'm going to come into the chat, just see who's here. Quite a lot of chatting going on, I think. Hi, Julie. Yeah, Julie says, I'm glad this isn't going away. It can't. And it can't. No, and in fact, I think I'm even more interested in it now than I was before. You know, and Virginia has done that. Looking at Virginia's face there, what was going on, you know, behind this I mean, and did she kill herself? Because that's a whole another weird thing, isn't it? You know, just suddenly she was seen in that awful photo with a bruised and battered face, and she'd been in an accident, hadn't she? A car accident, she said. And then other people were saying, oh no, it wasn't a really bad car accident, but it looked pretty bad. She had a lot of bruises, etc. And then the next minute she was dead. And she'd said on many occasions she would not, I mean, I know it doesn't mean anything because you never know what's going on in people's heads. But she had said on many occasions she was going to take this to the end. She wasn't going to do anything to herself. But you know what? She had such a horrible life, just generally with abuse. She had to be sort of damaged mentally, didn't she? But what was keeping her going a lot was this fight and the other girls. And she led the way, didn't she, for the other girls? So, yeah, it's a surprise what she did, really. But anyway. Hi, Angel. Hi, David. Yeah, Pizza Express. You know, I wouldn't. You know what they should do at Pizza Express? They should have a Prince Andrew pizza or something like, you know, a special one. What could they put on it? Salami or something? I don't know. What would represent Prince Andrew? What food would you'd have Prince Andrew pizza with bologna or something like that on it. That's what they should do, a special pizza. Hi, Joanna. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Lily. A lot of hellos going on there. Yeah. 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 Sorry, I'm reading the thing as they're going. Yeah, definitely. What's the word? There'll be loads of videos out there, won't there? We're going to have a look in a minute. What are the Epstein files? Imagine what those videos are like. He was probably secretly filming everything that went on. And he was blackmailing people. I mean, they're saying, you know, he blackmailed Sarah Ferguson, didn't he? You know, he is a blackmailer. That's what he was doing. That's why Andrew was, you know, he called him, didn't he, a useful idiot. You know, Andrew was a gift for someone like Epstein. And I think, you know, maybe that's where he was getting his money from. I don't know. So first of all, where we're going first of all, because I've got a few videos I want to show you. Let's see. Yeah, so an interesting thing that's coming out. Oh no, so yeah, let's watch this Sun video. This is what I mean. So what's curious is even sort of rags, if you like the Sun newspaper, the Daily Mail, who normally are fawning over the royal family, aren't they? You know, they seem to be very keen to poo-poo Andrew. Andrew's definitely the scapegoat. I could almost feel sorry for him, but of course I don't. But it's like everything. I think, I wonder if, you know, if I was Andrew, I think I'd be tempted to just come out and say and give the dirt on all the rest of the royal family, because I feel like they're all circling around Andrew. They've chosen, he's the one, because he's been the worst idiot. He's the one who's been chosen to sort of almost take the bullet for everybody else. And I hope that doesn't happen literally. The next thing we'll be finding Andrew deceased, self-deleted, probably. You know, it's like, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Because I mean, he does look absolutely haunted and desperate, because to a man like Andrew is so up his own arse. He couldn't just, even after the interview with Emily, he couldn't just take a back seat completely, could he? He said he did, but he didn't. He just couldn't. He just has to be there. I mean, that recent funeral, royal funeral, and you can't tell someone, I suppose, they can't go to the funeral of one of their relatives. But he was right in the front line, talking and laughing and joking with William. Does this man not understand discretion? Or, because he doesn't, because it's his, I do believe he does think it's his birthright. That's what Virginia said. She said that he felt that having sex with her was his birthright. I think he genuinely does. He thinks he's better than everybody else because he's been told that his whole life. He's been a spoilt brat from the day he was born. And he just can't. He just couldn't take a low profile, could he? I think if that was most of us, if we'd made a mistake, in the past or whatever, you'd want to keep a low profile, wouldn't you? And then he keeps saying, oh, no, he denies it was nothing, he didn't do any of this. But then his mum gave him £12 million to pay off a woman that he'd never supposedly even met before. So what was that about? It's so ridiculous. He's so thick. Whoever is advising him is thick as well, because they're supposed to get advice, aren't they, from people? I mean, because he doesn't live in the real world, does he? So he has no clue about the real world. So when he needs advice about how to please the plebs, how to appease the plebs, he probably can't believe he's got to justify his actions. He cannot believe it. He's never apologised. He just doesn't get it, does he, at all, because he's on a completely different planet. But you'd think his advisors would know better, but he's had the worst advisors, I think. Anyway, it's an interesting little video, this. Let's have a look.
Perhaps as a new storm is about to hit the royal family and Prince Andrew, because the Sun can exclusively reveal that before she died, Virginia Giuffre wrote an autobiography which will be published later this year. So I'll repeat that. Virginia Giuffre, before she died, wrote an autobiography which will now be published later this year.
So it's interesting. I mean, he's the royal editor of The Sun. So all the Sky News, the Mirror, the Mail, or whatever, they've all got their royal correspondents, haven't they? That are normally fawning all over the royal family. But they're all got their daggers out for Andrew, just like they've got their daggers out for Harry and Meghan. And, they keep lumping Andrew along with Harry and Meghan. And Harry and Meghan are nothing like Andrew. They haven't done what Andrew's done. It's foul that they do that. Whether you like them, you don't like them. Just they don't toe the line, but they haven't done what Andrew's done. But even these royal correspondents, royal editors, they're all gunning for Andrew. Everyone's gunning for him. He is the fall guy for the royal family. But he won't be the only one in the royal family that's got skeletons in the cupboard.
We can reveal that the book is being released in the US by Penguin Random House. That's the same publisher behind Harry's bombshell memoir, Spare. Now, Virginia's memoir, it's been rumoured for a while, but we can confirm it's being called Nobody's Girl. It was completed around a year ago. This was before she died. Virginia, if you remember, died in April this year, and it was ruled as a suicide. Look, we all know the Duke of York has paid millions of pounds to Virginia Giuffre to make a court case go away in which she accused him of sexual assault.
Yeah, a woman he says he's never ever met, he doesn't remember ever meeting that woman. That's a Photoshop, according to him. That photo. But he still got, imagine, I'm just thinking, we might moan about our kids and that, I feel like I'm constantly, I don't think I'll ever have any money. I think once you have kids, it's like, no matter how old they get, they always come to you when they're struggling, don't they? And, but I'm just imagining the conversation. Look, Mum, I need £12 million. Ew, what do you need £12 million for? Oh, well, I want to pay off this woman who's saying these bad things about me. And then, oh, well, what did you do? Nothing. I never even met her. I've never even seen this woman. Oh, well, why do you want £12 million to pay her off? Oh, God, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall on that conversation. And then, of course, £12 million to the Queen was probably like, your and mine kids asking for £100 or something. So it's like, oh, I think I've just passed me my purse. I think I've got a spare £12 million just hiding down the back of the sofa or whatever. It's like, it's nothing. £12 million to the Queen is like just a spit in the ocean, really, isn't it? But yes, thank you, Mummy, because it'll all go away now. Once I pay this £12 million to this woman that I've never ever met, and she said I sweat, and I can't sweat. You just can't imagine this. It's so ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Totally ridiculous, isn't it? And Mr. Sweaty, yeah. Hey, Mummy, I don't know why. She said I sweat. I don't sweat. Yes, Andrew. Oh, no, we've got to get rid of the. Oh, and then, yeah, was she even bumped off? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I don't know if she was. I don't know all the details of everything that happened to poor Virginia. She was a very sad figure. That's sort of how I feel. But yeah, he must. I tell you, I bet there was champagne being opened in that mansion that night, because he must have thought, "Oh, thank God for that. This is going to go away." And he couldn't have been more wrong, because it's even worse now.
We also know that Prince Andrew totally and utterly denies all allegations. He denies even meeting Virginia. But his reputation is beyond repair. His life as a working royal is finished. And while the book is expected.
You see, he's at the prominent as well at these public things. Why didn't he just take a step back and just stand back? He couldn't, because he's a puffed up, self-important toad, isn't he? That's what he reminds me of. He's just, everything he is has become etched in him. He started off when he was young, very handsome, and this, and now you can see that. I think you can see that in people's faces what they are. And I'm not talking about whether someone's good looking or not. Just look. I mean, he's obviously drawn because it's all getting on top of him, but it's getting on top of him not because he cares about those victims. He can't hold his hands up and say, "Oh God, I'm so sorry for what I did to Virginia. I didn't know she was 17. Epstein was a twonk and he was blackmailing me." He can't say, though, he can't tell the truth, can he? Because he wants to wear all these regalia and be Mr. Pomp and Ceremony. He just can't take a step back and be respectful, can he?
To go over again what happened between Virginia and Prince Andrew, what she alleges happened between her and Prince Andrew. It couldn't have come at a worse time for Prince Andrew and the royal family. He's been at Balmoral for the past week. He's been invited up there by the king. He's been staying just literally a mile away from the king up at Balmoral. But on Sunday, hours before we were able to break this news, Prince Andrew left Balmoral very quickly.
Now, he doesn't look very happy, does he? I mean, this sort of part of me does feel sorry. I think that's just me, but, because I don't like to see anyone suffering. But, if I was his advisor, I would say, just come clean, Andrew. Just come clean. Everybody knows what you are anyway. But at least you could, come over as a better person if you apologised and you accepted your responsibility for what happened. And I think most of us know that Epstein was the driving force behind it. Andrew just went along with it all because he's an idiot. He is an idiot. He isn't the sharpest tack in the box, is he? So, that would, to me, would be Andrew's best bet. is to just, tell the truth. Now, he looked there as he was coming away from whatever that meeting was there. That's probably the meeting where they decided he should stop using his titles, not be stripped of his titles. But I think they might find that hasn't gone far enough, because people are going to be clamouring for more than that with Andrew. I just don't think people are going to see it as enough. And of course, it's not only the Virginia Guiffre scandal, it's the Chinese spy scandal. It's like he would do anything for money. Both him and Sarah Ferguson are like pigs in a trough. If there's money involved, they'll sniff it out and they'll take it.
He was seen driving away at about 6 a.m. while the rest of the family attended church together. Prince William was there with the Princess of Wales and their 3 children, with the King, with the Queen, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh.
Not the Queen.
But no sign
Fuck off, she's not the Queen.
The Duke of York. But he will struggle to keep out of the limelight, because we understand this book by Virginia will be released in the US in October, which is just a few short months away. So we will struggle to keep out of the limelight. It does cause a fresh headache for the royal family at a time when they should really be recharging their batteries.
Yeah, I thought that was and as I say, it's interesting.
This week, Prince Andrew gave back his Duke of York titles in disgrace, and
we'll watch this as well, because he only had to cancel Fergie's birthday party. So they had Fergie's birthday 66 birthday party. They had a big party organised, so he's not exactly been suffering, has he? They had a big party organised at this mansion that they live at Windsor, and it makes you wonder who was going to that party. Who's going to a party at Prince Andrew's house? For fuck's sake. They'd be like, oh my God, not that Andrew again. Oh, we've got an invite, darling. Prince Andrew's invited us to Fergie's 66th birthday party. Oh, what excuse can we give? It'd be like, nobody, who would want to go? Who would want to go to a birthday party at his house, for God's sake? Were William and Kate supposed to go? Was Charlie Boy supposed to go? These are family members. They're the people that you would invite to your ex-wife's, who they seem to have this fabulous relationship, don't they? They're very, they live together. I say together in a 32, that house has got 32 rooms. So you probably, if you had to live with your ex anywhere, it'd be in a 32 room house, wouldn't it? You could probably, spend a month without even seeing them. But I don't think that happens with them. I think they are very close. They do seem to care about each other, at least, even though they don't care about these victims or whatever, they certainly care about each other. But just the thought of getting an invite, oh my God, I bet people were thinking of all sorts of excuses not to go to this party. So when he says he's cancelled it, probably what he means is everyone said, oh, sorry, mate, I'm not coming. No way I'm going to be seen going to a party at your house. Wonder if it was one of those shooting parties, just a regular shooting party. So he's not really, he's been carrying on regardless, hasn't he, really? So he's not exactly suffered. I just seen all this ridiculous clothes that he's got on. Normally he's seen with a load of medals that he never earned, the same as Charlie Boy. Where did they get the medals from? They're like Colonel Gaddafi with the medals that they wear.
Party is over for the prince, literally, because we can reveal party pooper Andrew this week cancelled Sarah Ferguson's birthday celebrations at Royal Lodge. Sarah.
Now, Sarah. Now, when they got married, I'm old enough to remember when they got married. That was sort of golden times for the royal family, really, because it was Diana and Charles. We didn't really know what was going on in the background with Shamila and everything. And I think when Andy and Fergie got married, they did seem to be genuinely in love. I remember thinking that, that they did. And she seemed to me like different from the normal royal family as well. Like she was sort of, I don't know, she seemed more like a real person. And she took so much stick from the media. I did feel for her because they used to call her the Duchess of Pork. I don't know if you remember that. Because, of course, she'd always be stood next to Diana. Diana was so beautiful, wasn't she? I mean, she's just like impossibly beautiful, really. And that in a natural way, tall, slim, always looked good, whatever outfit she wore. And not only that, she was a nice person who came over as genuine. And so I did feel a bit sorry for Sarah Ferguson at the time, and she wasn't fat. Well, God, if she was fat, I don't know what I was, but she was always compared to Princess Diana. And these sort of names that the Sun, which was it was a foul paper, really, when you think about it, calling her Duchess of Pork. I don't think they'd get away with that now, would they? Be like bullying. I suppose things have got better a little bit. So that was unfair. But then, of course, she's blotted her own copybook, hasn't she, by her association with Epstein, by the fact, do you remember, gosh, when was that? When there was some secret video taken of her selling sort of, I don't know, appointments with Prince Andrew to people. And that was all videoed, and that sort of was the start of her decline. Oh, and then there was the toe sucking incident. Seemed like she was having an affair with that other guy, and then some paparazzi or whatever got photos of the guy sucking her toes around the pool, and that was, so it's funny how they start off like, oh, everyone loves them, and and I remember her wedding. And I remember thinking, oh, they look like they're really in love, But anyway, her reputation went downhill, didn't it?
Who was also given up her York title with her ex-husband after he was caught lying about contacting Jeffrey Epstein, turned 66 years old on Wednesday. Estate workers, neighbours and friends were all invited to Royal Lodge to celebrate her birthday, but it came in a week of crisis for Prince Andrew. He had been exposed as a liar in The Sun on Sunday after emailing Epstein saying, "We're in this together," just 24 hours after a photo emerged of him and sex abuse accuser.
Yeah, so that was the big thing that came out as well, wasn't it? This email where it turns out he lied to Emily Maitlis. He said that he cut off contact with Epstein, and then it turns out this email's emerged. And as I was saying in the previous video, who is leaking these emails? Like somebody was saying it was Ghislaine, but how's she leaking the emails from prison? But I don't know, maybe she is. Somebody's stirring the pot here and leaking these emails. So that email came out from him, oh, we're in it together. What else did he? Oh, yeah, we'll play soon. Just ridiculous things that it said. It's clear that he's how guilty he is. He should just say it.
Virginia Guiffre. And on Wednesday, The Sun began revealing extracts from Virginia's memoir in which she claimed Andrew was entitled and saw having sex with her as his birthright. So Andrew, rather understandably, was in no mood to party and he called it off. A friend told us there was a big party organised for Fergie. All the staff and estate workers were invited and were very excited. But Prince Andrew cancelled it at the last minute. There was a lot.
All the staff and estate workers were invited and were very excited, whatever. Oh, he can only get people to come to his party if they work for him. Nobody else wants to go. I mean, look at those medals. What are them medals for? Colonel Gaddafi would be proud. Idi Amin would be proud of those medals. I'm always very suspicious of anyone who wears a load of medals that, you just don't even know what they're for. He just loves it, doesn't he? It's like playing dress up, with all that paraphernalia and everything. So he invited all these state workers because he got no friends anymore. He's invited the estate workers because the only people who go to the party are the people that he's paying, he's employing. Oh my God. And how many state workers has he got? Again, he's living in this great big bloody mansion. Who's paying for it? Is he paying for it? And if he's paying for it, what's he paying for it from?
going on, he was facing up to the fact that he would face punishment. In many ways, the party was over for Andrew, the friend said. So it's not a time for celebration at Royal Lodge or for the former Yorks.
So yeah, no party time. Party pooper, they called him. I just don't know, what he thought he was going to do. But anyway, so yeah, one of the things that are going to come out in this book, though I think it was already known, is that Virginia, she claims she was beaten and RAPD'd by a well-known prime minister. Now, not necessarily a British prime minister, though I did have a look to see who was prime minister at the time. And of course, you're looking at Tony Blair. I don't know. I can't imagine Tony Blair doing that. But do you know what? You never know, do you? So the Jeffrey Epstein victim details the shocking revelations in her posthumous book, Nobody's Girl, a memoir of surviving abuse and fighting for justice. And I'll be definitely buying a copy of this book. And it seems surprising to me that she's taken her own life before the book came out, isn't it? Just wouldn't surprise me if somebody got to her. Really wouldn't surprise me. So people are dying around Prince Andrew, aren't they? Virginia's died. She was 41 years old. So young. I mean, Epstein, he'd had a life, hadn't he? And he'd had a fantastic life, really. He'd done everything he wanted to. And he took his own life, supposedly. But I wonder why Virginia did that before the book came out. You'd think she'd want the book, to see that. Anyway, it's a shame. It's a shame. It really is. So she says in her memoirs that the unnamed politician forced her to beg for her life in a brutal attack when she was 18. God, he's a foul man, this Jeffrey Epstein. And when she told Jeffrey about it, he told her it was just part of the job after she begged him to step in after having suffered at the hands of the brutal politician. And she says he repeatedly choked her till she lost consciousness. And he took pleasure in seeing me in fear for my life. Now, could be due to... maybe she's not telling the truth. I don't believe. Of course she's telling the truth. Anyone who thinks that Virginia's not telling the truth, I think they're silly because, if she's not telling the truth, why did Andrew pay £12 million to a woman who's not telling the truth and he's never met? That's the proof. Anyway, he said to have forced her to beg for her life. But Epstein told her it was just part of her job. And she wrote, after the attack, I couldn't stay a fool, having been treated so brutally and then seeing Jeffrey's callous reaction to how terrorized I felt. I had to accept that Epstein meted out praise merely as a manipulation to keep me subservient. Epstein cared only about Epstein. And in her memoirs, Guiffre only referred to the man as the Prime Minister, adding that she was afraid he would seek to hurt her if she printed his name. But she had, funnily enough, talk about Israel. What a lovely place Israel is, isn't it? But she has indicated in the past, and this is all alleged, that Israel's former Prime Minister, Ehud Barak, as one of the many elite people who RAP'd her in court filings. But he has repeatedly denied the claims. Well, he's another one. I mean, just release these files already, for fuck's sake. Because the other thing is, what is casting aspersions on other prime ministers? Because everyone will be like, which prime minister is it? Which prime minister is it? Now, it may not even be him, Ehud Barak. May not be him. It may be a completely different ex-prime minister. But it's someone. I believe her. I do believe her. And yeah, she was afraid he would seek to hurt her if she printed his name. Well, look what's happened. She's been found dead. Just don't know, do you? Just honestly, nothing would surprise me in this case. So she says in her book she first met the Prime Minister on Epstein's private island in the US Virgin Islands sometime in 2002 when she was just 18. I wonder what's happened to that island now. Does anybody know? Is anybody living on it now? I mean, it'd be like a haunted island, wouldn't it? Guiffre claims she was ordered to take him to a cabana, but once they were alone, the man is said to have made it clear that he wanted violence. She wrote, he repeatedly choked me until I lost consciousness and took pleasure in seeing me in fear for my life. And horrifically, the Prime Minister laughed when he hurt me and got more aroused when I begged him to stop. And she said he RAP'd her more savagely than anyone had before. So she rushed to Geoffrey and begged him not to send her back to the politician. And she said in her book, I got down on my knees and pleaded with him. I don't know if Epstein feared the man or if he owed him a favour, but he would not make any promises, saying coldly of the politician's brutality, you'll get that sometimes. On another occasion, Epstein sent her back to the politician for a second encounter, this time in a cabin on the Lolita Express. And while the encounter was far less violent, Guiffre spent that entire hour fearing he would suddenly hit or strangle her. In her memoirs, she admitted that before the violent attack, she had given Epstein the benefit of the doubt, believing he cared for the girls he sex trafficked. What? No, you know what? I'm sat here as a 60-odd-year-old woman looking at that. Obviously, he didn't care for the girls he sex trafficked. But do you know what? When you're a young girl, I don't know, and she had daddy issues, really, did she? You believe. I think that happens a lot in the sex industry. Women believe, girls believe that, they're pimps. Basically, Geoffrey's a pimp, isn't he? That they really care about them. And, here in Spain, when I was teaching English, I had a girl come along for English classes. Oh, my God, stunning was not the word. Just absolutely beautiful girl. Anyway, there's a lot of Eastern European sex workers here now, but at the time, this was probably it was before 2000. Most of the working girls here, they were from Brazil. And this girl was from Brazil. And what they would do is they would come to Spain to work as sex workers, and they'd have family at home that they'd send their money home to. And this girl was, I don't know how old she was. She was not as young as Virginia, but she was in her early 20s, let's say. And she was sending money home to her mum, who was looking after her two children. She had two children back in Brazil. And this girl was working in a brothel. The brothels here are called clubs. So be careful when you come to Spain and you think you fancy a night of clubbing. Make sure it's a nightclub. Well, no, not even a nightclub. Nightclubs are brothels in Spain. Dance type clubs are discotheques. Shh. Oh, God, it's that Coco, that bloody chihuahua's out there barking. So, yeah, be careful when you go in a nightclub. It's not a discotheque where you go dancing. It's a brothel. Anyway, so this girl, she was working in a brothel. And now, do I say luckily for her or unluckily for her? Probably luckily, I don't know. The guy who owned the brothel took a shine to her and he moved her out of the brothel and into his house. And this is what he would do. Now, I'm sure that he would do that maybe till the next girl took his eye. You know, she knew she didn't have long. You know, that he decided she was so beautiful, and she was so beautiful, and not only that, she was a nice person. He took her out of the brothel, took her to his house, and sort of kept her like she was still really a sex worker, but just only with him. And that's why she could take English classes and things like that, because he gave her an allowance and he gave her some freedoms. She had a car, you know, and she drove to the classes and that. And I often think about her, because I don't know what happened to her in the end. She came for classes for a while. I don't know if I finished work at that school and then because I ended up working for myself. I didn't work for myself then. I was working at an academy. And she told me a lot about her life. It was very interesting, you know. So she counted herself lucky, because at least she only had to sleep with him. You know, she didn't have to sleep with all these other guys at the club. But yeah, I wonder how long that went on. But she knew perfectly well that that wasn't going to last forever. You know, that eventually a new girl would come, you know, that he took a shine to, and she'd be out, though she'd probably get a payoff, you know, from this guy. It'd be like, and she would then either be able to go back, you know, to where she came from, or she'd have to go back into the club, you know. So she was saving money and hoping to eventually go back to be with her kids in Brazil. I mean, it's awful, isn't it? I'm getting emotional now thinking about it. So I hope she managed to do that. You know, I do think about her from time to time, and I hope she did manage to get back to her mum and her kids and everything, to her own country, and get out of that lifestyle that she was in. Anyway. So yeah, basically they don't care about the girls that they're trafficking. You know, that she knew that man she lived with, he didn't care about her. She was just the girl of the moment. You know, he wasn't going to marry her. You know, he was just like, he liked her, and he took a shine to her, and he took her home, and then, you know, sooner or later she'd be replaced by the next one. However, so going back to Virginia, she was not entirely naive, she wrote, and acknowledged that his predilection for childlike girls was a sickness, but then that in his twisted way he meant well. However, it was Epstein's indifference to her fears and injuries at the hands of the Prime Minister which led to the then 18-year-old to face the truth. She then predicted her own death in her memoirs, saying she would not survive the life of being sex trafficked and would either take her own life or die at the hands of one of Epstein's friends. Virginia wrote, I didn't know it then, but my second interaction with the Prime Minister was the beginning of the end for me. Adding that it was then that she stopped recruiting other girls for Epstein, as he had forced her to do in the past. And she said the final breaking point came when Epstein and his madam, Ghislaine Maxwell, pleaded with her to carry their child. An offer, she said, came with mansions, wealth, and nannies around the clock. But it would mean she had to sign away any legal rights. Yeah, because he never had any children, did he? She's strange, really. She feared they were planning to use the baby as a future trafficking victim, oh my God, and started planning her escape. So she managed to flee their grasp not long after, but she was still haunted by her experiences for the rest of her life, particularly the greedy, cruel look on the Prime Minister's face as he watched me beg for my life. So Barack, the Prime Minister, has repeatedly denied the claims made by Guiffre and said he had no knowledge that Epstein was running a sex ring. The former Prime Minister and Defence Minister was a personal friend of Epstein's and received some $2.3 million payments in million in payments from a foundation associated with Epstein from 2004 to 2006. God. Epstein also invested a reported... Listen, Epstein, he liked to collect prime ministers and presidents and royalty. He's almost like a collector, wasn't he? He would collect these important people and then blackmail them. I think that's where he got his money from. I don't know. Anyway, so Barack said, I never took part in any party or event with women or anything like that. He said that the Israeli leader Shimon Peres first introduced him to Epstein in 2002, and he had probably met him a few dozen times over the year. And in another... Hey, stop! And in another revelation from her book, she tells how she lost the baby just 4 days after she flew back from an orgy with Prince Andrew and 8 other girls. So, you know, all these things, it's just getting worse and worse, isn't it? There's more and more worse things going to come out for Andrew and God knows what. But there are 20 men in these files, apparently. So who are the other men? You know, it's all the focus is on Andrew. All the focus is on Andrew. But what about the other 19 men? You know, it's not just Andrew who is sorry, just let me say hello to anybody who I might have missed coming in. Hi, Dawn. Yeah, sorry, I felt like I missed someone there coming in, but anyway, if I do miss you coming in, just say hello again and I'll notice it the next time. So yeah, this poor girl, no longer with us. That's what we have to remember. I mean, she is a victim because she isn't with us anymore. You know, whether she took her own life or somebody took her life, she was 41 years old, and she had a sort of, you know, she's had this sort of high rolling life, like financially. You know, I think she's been okay, but you know, a life of abuse. So it's awful. What's the lives that some people. Anyway, right. Let me stop sharing that. Stop. Gosh. This poor dog is like, it's the Chihuahua's fault, of course. I can't think when she barks because I don't know how loud it is for you, but it's really loud here. So, what's going on here? I've lost my... Oh. Right, let me put a couple of windows down. So, yeah, Barack is probably that prime minister, isn't it? You know, but anyway, he's denying it. Well, release the files. Come on, get these files released. For God's sake. And then, you know, because at the end of the day, it's not good for a suspicion to be cast on other prime ministers that are innocent, you know, because people will be looking sideways at all of them. Just one more thing that I wanted to show you, of course, is the Sarah Ferguson thing. So again, Sarah, she's, you know, she's caused her own downfall, hasn't she? You know, we can't feel sorry for, it's difficult to feel sorry for Sarah because she was bankrolled. Apparently, again, what is this? The Daily Mail, probably. These are newspapers that are normally in favour of the royal family. But of course, they've never really liked Sarah that much, have they? You know, she's like, you know, like they don't like Meghan. And the thing is, they're all for the royal family, but they're really nasty about the members of the royal family that go against the grain, aren't they? Anyway, so according to the Daily Mail, We have to take it with a pinch of salt. This is what they say. Epstein bankrolled Sarah Ferguson for 15 years, and she took her daughters to celebrate his release from prison in the US. So these are emails that claim this. Oh, yeah, and another thing that's coming out, just seeing that at the bottom there, it's coming out now that Andrew asked the Metropolitan Police to dig up dirt on Virginia Guiffre, to try and find something, that he could go against her with. So there's a call for a police probe now about, it's about time though, isn't it? And again, if Andrew's got nothing to hide, if he didn't do that, you can just imagine that happening, can't you? Oh, let's find something bad about this woman so that she can't, cast my name into disrepute. Let's find something on her. And she was a bloody teenager, for God's sake. Anyway, so yeah, apparently, according to the Mail, we take it as we find it. I'm just telling you where it's come from. I don't know if it's true or not. He secretly bankrolled Sarah Ferguson for 15 years. He complained to friends about the disgraced Duchess's scrounging ways in messages that suggest his financial support went far beyond the $15,000 she admitted taking from him. See, she's another one. Where does she get her money from? In the previously unseen emails, Epstein reveals that Fergie was so desperate to cozy up to him that she was the first to celebrate his release from jail with her 2 daughters in tow. Princess Beatrice would have been 20 at the time, and Eugenie 19, the same age as many of his victims. Now, I do sort of feel sorry for the princesses because, they didn't choose to be Andy's daughters. But, from what I can see, they're going along with everything. They've gone along with everything. They've never spoke up against him either. So the shocking claims are contained in a huge tranche of documents under review by the US Congress. They are set to be released once they've been redacted to protect the identity of hundreds of young girls Epstein RAPD'd and sexually abused. Well, it's not to protect them, is it? The reason they're going to be redacted, it won't be to protect them. You can bet that 100%. It'll be to protect other people, not them. So the sordid nature of Fergie's relationship with the PDF and the chummy tone of their correspondence makes sickening reading that will repulse the sex offender's many victims. So these are supposedly emails seen by the Mail on Sunday. Fergie begged to borrow $50,000 to $100,000 to help with small bills. Oh my God. $500 is a small bill, maybe, or even less, but $50,000, I suppose they are small bills. When you're a billionaire, millionaire, or whatever, I suppose this is small change, isn't it? Small change, like the 12 million Queenie gave to Andrew, just in her change purse. It was literally all down the back of her sofa. 12 million. Oh, yes, I've got 12 million around somewhere. I mean, it must be a nice feeling, isn't it? If you didn't have to worry about it. If you had that much money, you could just give someone $50,000 or £12 million. Anyway, she asked to visit Epstein's private island. Was she going to take her daughters with her? Joking whether her financial woes made it unavailable to bankrupts. Maybe she was offering her services. But do you know what, mate? Oh, gosh, would you have gone to that island with those girls, with her daughters, who were teenagers? Epstein paid off debts the Duchess owed a former employee, but became angry when she failed to pay him back as promised. And whilst disavowing Epstein in public, Fergie kept up contact and let him help set up a charity for her. Epstein brazenly gave Fergie talking points before she was interviewed by Oprah Winfrey. So there they are, and unfortunately for those girls, they are the spit of Andrew, aren't they? They look so much like Andrew. You definitely couldn't deny them, that's for sure. But you know what? I don't know, what do they do? Do they work? Remember work? I don't know. What? Anyway, I don't know what they do or don't do. You know, and we know what I was saying earlier about how people's faces as they get older just show what kind of people they are. Look at his face. All that money, but he couldn't do anything about his face looking like an evil piece of shit, could he? You know, he couldn't do anything about that. Maybe he should have spent a bit on a bit of plastic surgery. Tonight, a well-placed source said, Sarah and Prince Andrew have always maintained they distanced themselves from Epstein after his conviction for child prostitution. In fact, it was Epstein who ended up dumping them. He got sick and tired of Sarah constantly asking him for money. She borrowed far more money off him than has ever come out. In public, she was saying one thing, but in private, she was always holding out the begging bowl. According to this. Last month, the MOS revealed how Fergie wrote to Epstein calling him a supreme friend, just weeks after giving an interview claiming she would never have anything to do with the sex offender ever again. And that revived the scandal that saw her and Andrew relinquish their titles on Friday. They haven't relinquished their titles. Anyway, in the London Evening Standard on March the 7th, 2011, Fergie issued a heartfelt apology for accepting $15,000 from Epstein and called it a giant error of judgment. The comment angered the financier, who sent an email to his friend, French modelling agent Jean-Luc Brunel, that day, complaining the Duchess that I have financially helped for 15 years said that she wants nothing to do with a PDF and a child sex abuser. It's caused quite a stir. And surprise, surprise, Brunel was later arrested on rape charges. And he killed himself in jail in 2022, 3 years after Epstein's own jail suicide. It's like bloody dominoes, isn't it? It's like, you know, some Agatha Christie novel. They're all dropping dead like flies, one after the other, killing themselves. Epstein demanded Fergie write him a public letter of apology over the interview and threatened to sue her if she did not. And the tranche of emails contained various drafts of the letter. One read, Dear Geoffrey, I wanted you to know with certainty that many things said in the press about you and were attributed to me were either a totally malicious fabrication or an outrageous exaggeration. There was never a claim of PDF. You have been a loyal friend of my family for many years. Oh my God. Yeah. Now, Sarah had cancer, didn't she? Didn't she say she had cancer as well? For these two. Now, this is that infamous photo when they met in the park. Well, they went to the park because they weren't sure if they'd get bugged in the house, I'm sure. Anyway, I don't think I'm going to read all that out. I'll just play this video. Oh no, it's 23 minutes long. I'm not going to play that. Well, she's got a tattoo. Oh, no, it's not a tattoo. It's a bra. I thought she had a tattoo on her hand then. Yeah, Fergie, I don't know. She's another one. Look at the face she's grown into, because something went wrong with her. It's greed, isn't it? It's complete greed. I suppose maybe it's that you get a taste of the high life. Where can you go? You can't go backwards, can you? I don't know. I don't know. Really don't know. Let's just read this. So the denial of paedophilia hinged on Epstein's insistence that the crime he was initially punished for, having sex with a 16-year-old, would not have been illegal in the UK, where the age of consent is 16. But in Florida, where some of his crimes took place, the age is 18. In another email, Epstein again insisted that Fergie should affirmatively state that she was misquoted, and he wrote to his British lawyer Paul Tweed saying, "She took apartments in New York. She was the first to celebrate my release with her 2 daughters in tow. She visited me with a policeman sitting at my front desk. She's asked for help with her charities." And he revealed he brought her the web address Mother's Army, adding, "The fact that I bought it, if it were to be disclosed by her leaking staff, would be problematic." Fergie reveals she had dragged her daughter into a sordid world. How could you do that? She told Epstein that immediately after her interview with The Standard, she had talked to Beatrice and then called editor Geordie Greig, who had conducted it, to tell him he should not in any way go down the P route. She said she wanted to make sure he understood the severity of not making a mistake. And the emails offer more proof that Fergie continued to suck up to Epstein despite publicly disowning him. He wrote on August the 1st, 2011, "When you first got in trouble, you said to me, 'Jeffrey, I know that as I told everyone, you're either on the team or off. I knew you were always on my team.' That was right." The Duchess responded, "I am on yours and you are on mine with great love and strength." Anyway, as I say, it goes on. I'm not going to read out the whole thing, but yeah, so Sarah was in it up to her neck. She brought her girls into it. There is at that funeral recently, right in the front line. That's that famous interview. I've got a video on my channel somewhere of where I react to the whole interview. That's where it all went really wrong for Andrew when he tried to, make out it was all just, nothing. Never met that girl. Of course, let's just remind ourselves how he doesn't sweat. Lie after lie after lie, and that was it for Andrew. He sealed his fate, but that is 6 years ago now. So why is it only just now that they've been instructed to take away their titles? Why has it taken so long? Seems to me, there you go, there's Lord Mountbatten with Andrew again. Seems to me something's in the air. Yeah, we won't, Charlie boy, we don't forget. Some of us are still alive who remember these things. You can't kill off everybody who remembers bad things that you did or what a twat you were to Princess Diana. You can't. No, some people still remember it. What a good mate you were of Jimmy Savile. And, how close you were to your brother. And probably still are behind closed doors. And yeah, just how one photo how one photo can cause what this photo has caused Andrew. Honestly, he must think, why did I pose for that photo? Because if it wasn't for that photo, Virginia would find it difficult to be believed, wouldn't she? You know, it's because that photo exists that Virginia is believed. Because if that photo didn't exist, how would she prove it? You know, how would she? So I just thought I'd come out. I think I'm going to have more to say about this. I think this thing's going to come out this week. So later this week, Charlie boy, he's going off to pray next to the Pope, isn't he? Just crazy, isn't it, really? You know, people in glass houses throwing stones, you know, making out there like, you know, butter wouldn't melt, and it's just not true, is it? It's just not true. I don't know. Just anyway, for Virginia, I just hope, you know. Oh, and there's another book coming out soon, isn't there, by another victim? Is it called Butterfly something? Let's see. Something butterfly. I can't remember the name of it. Blue Butterfly. Inside the diary of an Epstein survivor. So it's not going to. So we've got sort of the Virginia Guiffre book coming out, and then later it's going to be the Blue Butterfly book. And when will the files be released? Just release them already. They should be released. So really, that's why it's lurching on as well. And then, of course, there's Donald Trump. I mean, let's not forget about him. You know, he's been named, hasn't he? You know, he's been haunted by the Epstein files. In fact, I have prepared something about that, but I'm not going to do that today because it make the video too long. But you know, he sent this sort of weird birthday message, didn't he, to Epstein with the nude woman, and then his signature at the bottom. I can just show you that before we finish. But I'm going to look at that in more detail soon. And it's funny, when I looked at this, I thought, oh my God, what's that? Is that supposed to be pubic hair? But it's his signature. Mm-hmm. Look, he sent this sort of birthday message and his signature at the bottom. But of course, he's saying, no, that definitely was not his signature. But when I first saw it, I thought, oh my God, is that pubic hair at the bottom? But it's not. It sort of is. It's Donald Trump's signature. So we'll look at that. We're going to look at the actual files themselves and, you know, what's supposed to be contained in them. And yeah, apparently we've only seen 1% of what's in them. So, you know, how's that going to work out when we see the rest of it? Oh, you're tired. Okay, I'm off. So listen, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Hi down to Tyrrell. Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe, and of course, very important, press notifications, because I definitely will be talking more about this. As I say, it's not something, I don't know why really, I haven't really spoke about it that much, just occasionally, but I've got this feeling that this is like really, there's so much more to come out. You know, and not only about Andrew. Andrew is being used a little bit, I think, as a scapegoat for everybody else. Everyone's focusing on Andrew, and I'm not sympathetic towards Andrew. He is a complete twonk, of course, but he's not the only one. You know, so leave off him and start, you know, telling us about the others as well. So I suppose Andrew's got the most stick because of that photo with Virginia. So Virginia has spoken specifically, hasn't she, about Andrew? And I know that her brother Sky said that he was glad, that the King Charlie boy had done something. Because he said in his own country, in America, nobody had done anything, for Virginia. So at least if the King or William or whoever's ended up stripping, well, they haven't stripped him of his titles, telling him he can't use them. That her brother Sky was grateful about that. He said he was grateful that something had been done at least. He said it was not enough, but it was something, and it was better than the nothing that is being done in America at the moment. And, Donald Trump, he's just ignoring it, isn't he? Pretending to be a king himself now. Of course, all this thing in America, the No Kings marches, because Trump is... God, he loved that, didn't he? When he went to the banquet at Windsor Castle... Oh, he just loves all that, doesn't he? He'd love to be a king, wouldn't he? He just would. Anyway, but, it may be that Trump's involvement is not that... Hey! Is not that great. It's not that much, but we don't know. And do you know what? Stop it. Stop. We don't... It makes you wonder, though, because if you were innocent and you didn't think there was anything in those files that would affect you, wouldn't he just release them? Wouldn't it be just easier for Trump to just release the files and say, look, here you go, there's nothing to see here? So that makes you think that probably there is something to see there, because he's not doing that, is he? And you'd think he'd just want it over and done with, wouldn't you? Hi, Tracy. Yes, oh gosh, shush. Time to go. All the dogs in the street are barking now. So, yeah, I hope my car's okay as well. So, I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. And I hope Virginia is at peace. I really do hope she's at peace. Looking down on it all, and I just hope she's in a better place. But thank you. Bye. And may your God go with you. Bye.